Presenting the CW Crew.
Hey everybody, John Foss, Alexa Score, CW Twin Cities. We're talking with entrepreneur, rapper, filmmaker, but you probably know this guy from the Minnesota Timberwolves, Troy Hudson. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what's going on in your life right now?
Pretty much a lot. Just getting back into the basketball community over the last couple of years, doing a lot of training, a lot of coaching, and raising kids.
Awesome. Well, take us back, your basketball career. How did basketball become your thing?
Well, since I can remember, I played basketball. They said whenever, as a kid, when I saw a pregnant woman, I would run up to anybody that's pregnant, I would run up to their stomach and yell ball. So I guess.
Hopefully this was pregnant people and not like.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, I mean, it was in my genes. And then, I started playing at a young age and just fell in love with it. I mean, I played other sports, but basketball was the one that I just really gravitated to.
Was it a big part of your community? Because you're from small town Illinois, or
Yes.
smaller town. Was it a big part of your community? Is that how you got into it? Did you have a lot of support there?
Of course, Carbondale, Illinois, Southern Illinois, we had so much great talent who came out of that area. And down in Southern Illinois, basketball is like, that's all we did. Just play basketball in the neighborhood all day long. So I just grew up around the game, around just great talented players, some that didn't go to college, but could have went to college. But it was just, everything down there was about basketball.
Did you think that basketball was going to be like a lifelong thing, or did you think I'm going to play high school and then be done?
No, I always had a dream to play in the pros. Like from the day I started loving the game, I was like, I want to play at the next level. Mm-hmm. Growing up, in that day and age, we didn't have, YouTube or the internet. You had your basic cable channel. So I got a chance to see, the Lakers play, the Bulls play. And then once you watch that Michael Jordan and you watch Magic Johnson, it's like, that's what I want to do.
Cool. So you went to Missouri and Southern Illinois. Why did you pick Missouri, and then why did it change?
Like I said, Missouri from my hometown was 4 hours. So we always saw their games on our local TV channel. So I remember Doug Smith, I remember Anthony Peeler, some of those great players that played in Mizzou. So it was almost like marketing to me. Like I saw them so much. So when they started recruiting me, they came to every one of my games for 2 years in a row. I mean, they were constant. They stayed at it. And so I didn't even take any other visits after going to visit them, because I felt like if you're going to come watch me for 2 years straight, that you really want me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And after college, you actually went undrafted. Was it just your love for the game? What kept you motivated through that process?
My love for the game and confidence in my ability. I left school early as a junior. I had two, great seasons at Southern Illinois University, led the conference in scoring. An undersized two guard, which I would have to play the point guard in the NBA, was one of the major reasons why I didn't get drafted, because at that time, you had to be a point guard if you're 6 foot. If I played in today's game, I would be ideal for today's game because they want the 6-footers to score. But I just had confidence in my ability. I knew that I could play the point guard if given the opportunity. I mean, I could handle the ball, I could shoot the ball. I just never handled because I was a shooter. So I left early and just stuck with it and had an opportunity to play.
I feel like a lot of these reasons are the same reasons I didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
Like if it was today's game, like I'm ideal.
Right,
but,
right. No, I was like, oh, I smell a little comeback there, maybe. Right? Was there anyone that took the same path as you who, went undrafted and you said, well, if they can do it, I can do it? Because today, sports have been around a little bit longer. There are a lot of people who have had these different paths, who it hasn't just went, get drafted and then play in the league. Was there anyone that you really looked up to?
At that time, no. At that time, I really didn't know about being undrafted, and I didn't know many players. I always watched the NBA and the pros, and I figured everybody got drafted. So when I got there and I kind of understood the role I was taking and what I was going through, I started, thinking to myself, like, this is a pretty cool role because this is unconventional. So many people here are drafted, and there are players that are not drafted, but no one knows about them. And so if you look at everything that I do, my company is Undrafted Pros. everything that I do, I want to bring attention to the fact to the just normal, everyday citizens that have dreams of playing in the pros. If you don't get drafted, you can still make it. So that's why I always just adopt that undrafted pros, being undrafted. My first album was called Undrafted.
Right.
Everything that I do, I want people to understand the road that I took and that they can do the same thing.
Did you expect to be drafted? Was it a shock that you weren't?
Oh, no. Like my agent, I think he's the best agent in the game. I kept him for my entire career. He's just straightforward. Mm-hmm. He's like, you got the talent to be drafted, but no one knows who you are. They don't think you can dribble. They don't think you can play the point guard position, so you're not getting drafted. He's like, but we have a plan. We're gonna send you to different camps. He said, don't worry about the camps we send you to. You may not make their team. They probably already have 3 point guards, but we're building a resume because I know what you can do. So when another team asks that team about you, they're gonna tell them like, we would have kept him if we could. Mm-hmm. So I followed the recipe and it worked out for me.
So how did you make the transition then to actually making it to the NBA?
Well, I was lucky. I was blessed that I made a team my first year being undrafted in 1997. I was the only undrafted player that made an opening day roster, and it was with the Utah Jazz. And it's amazing how I made it because only reason why I was given the opportunity, John Stockton had went down, and that was the first time in his career that he had ever missed games. And he went down, he had to get a knee scope, and he was out for 2 months. And I actually beat a second rounder out that they had drafted in the second round. I outplayed them, and I made the team, and I was able to stay with them for 2 months.
Very cool.
So you were with them for a couple months, but then you kind of jumped around a little bit in your 11 years in the NBA. Talk about some of the other places that you played.
I played in my first team after Utah was the Los Angeles Clippers. And we had some pretty good talent, but the organization at that time was the Clippers, the old Clippers. Yeah. And then I left there and I went to Orlando Magic, which Doc Rivers was my coach. I got a great opportunity there.
Was Shaq there at that time?
No, Shaq wasn't there. This is the year, the first year that T-Mac and Grant Hill came there.
Oh, okay.
And we were picked to win the Eastern Conference, but Grant Hill was coming off an injury from Detroit, and he never really had a chance to play in Orlando. And then I left there, came here, was here 6 years, went to Golden State and played 10 games before I got injured again.
And when you played here, it seems like that's kind of what most people remember about your career because you had such a great career here in Minnesota. You're friends with Kevin Garnett, and you guys made it to the Western Conference Finals, probably the highlight of the Timberwolves organization as a whole. Tell us about that time period and your relationship with Kevin Garnett.
That was a great time period. You know, that's one of those things that, like you said, people know me from that. So when I walk around or I'm around the city, people are always like, you know, that time period, it brings joy to people. You know, it brings joy to me too because we had so much fun in that time here in Minnesota. And building a relationship with KG is one of those things. It's like he was the superstar, but you wouldn't know that he was a superstar. He didn't carry himself like that, and he always made sure everybody on the team and in the organization was treated well. He never had that big ego to make you feel like he was unapproachable. So he made the transition, because when I came here, he had played with an all-star in Terrell Brandon. And so overnight, Terrell Brandon didn't play for the Timberwolves again because he hurt his ankle. So for me to come in, a guy who came from Orlando, who was a sixth man in Orlando, to step right in and then play with a future Hall of Famer, sometimes, you know, future Hall of Famer may look at me like, I don't know if this is gonna work. He never did that. He always said, we're gonna do it. This is gonna work, and play your game. He always said, play your game, and he was one of the reasons why I was so successful here.
Do you have any favorite moments with KG on the court or off, like fun stories or just something that really sticks out in your mind?
The 2002 playoffs, when we played against the Lakers, and I think I averaged like 25 in that series.
Laker killer, right?
Laker killer.
Yeah,
exactly. That's where that came from, the Laker killer. I think that time, that whole season, but then specifically that series was when you know, we really came together, because we were like a 1-2 punch, and it was like the 1-2 punch that nobody ever imagined. Because at the time Wally was here, but Wally had that season he had an injury-plagued season. So he was up and down. So he wasn't his full self throughout the whole year. So I stepped in and it was like, who is this guy? And the thing about it was, I'm telling you, like KG was like, you know, most superstars are like, no, I'm the superstar. I need to get all the attention. He was like, man, play your game. Keep doing what you're doing. And to give you a great story, game 2, I had 37. We were up 22, something like that. And they threw me the ball. I was about to get checked out. Everybody was going to get subbed out. They threw me the ball. He threw me the ball. And I was at the three-point line, wide open shot. I didn't take it. And after the game, he said, why didn't you shoot the ball? You could have got 40. I said, we were up. I don't want to. He's like, I don't care about them. You shoot the ball. See, that's your fault. You ain't got 40 now. And so he was always one of those type of guys that wanted you to get your glory.
And it sounds like you guys are still pretty tight, and which brings me to my next question: when can we all get together?
With KG? Yeah. As soon as I can catch him. He's like Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay. Catch me if you can.
But you guys do still keep in touch? And
Yeah, definitely. He comes to the city. He pops in and flies back out. But yeah, we definitely still stay in touch and talk.
Cool.
So he's around the area as well. You've lived in places like Orlando, LA, Utah, a couple of years over in California. What brought you back to Minnesota? Why'd you choose, the Midwest over a little warmer climate?
I'm Midwestern. I'm from Illinois. It's just the people. Orlando, people were cool. I had a good time in Orlando. LA, I lived there when I was kind of younger, and just not my style. I don't like to, floss and name drop, and that's that market. But I met great people in LA that I'm still good friends with today. But like Minnesota is just like home. Like they say, Minnesota nice. Yep. Everybody's friendly. You can be yourself. Great place to raise a family, and it's home.
One of the pictures on your wall is you guarding Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. What was it like to play against Jordan and to guard him? And was it kind of like an out-of-body experience where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing the greatest player of all time?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean, even though it was the Washington Wizards, Michael Jordan, but my son doesn't know that. He thinks that was the best version of Michael Jordan. So don't tell him the secret. But it was in Orlando. I was playing for the Magic, and I couldn't help but I would never turn around and look at him. But after I shoot my layup, running back to the other line, I would make sure that that's Michael Jordan down there. And then when I got a chance to guard him, I remember it was halftime, and Mike, he didn't have a great game. I outscored him that game, but he didn't have a great game. But a couple of players on our team, I guess Doc Rivers felt like they were kind of a little afraid of him. And Doc was like, this is not Michael Jordan from Chicago Bulls. Like, why are you scared of him? He's an old man. Anybody in here want to guard him? I'm like, me. And so once I opened up the second half guarding him, and once I got on him, I was ready to take it to him. It's my idol. He's the greatest player of all time, but we're on the same court, and I got to prove to you that I belong.
Did you talk to him at all during the game? Was there any trash talk or just conversation?
Well, I had more sense than that. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, you don't want to wake a sleeping giant. Even though he was like 92 years old, still.
Yeah.
Very cool. And getting back to, you wanting to stay here in Minnesota, it seems like you're really involved in the community as well, getting into coaching at all different levels. Tell us a little bit about the teams that you coach.
Well, I coach a girls charter team, Eagle Ridge Academy, which this is only the third year of the program. The first year of the program, I went to tryouts. They didn't know I was going to be the coach. They didn't even know who I was. They probably wasn't born when I was playing. But they had never played a game before. So I had to show them the game. I had to teach them the rules. And we went from second to last the first year to runner-up in the conference the second year. And then last year we moved up a couple levels. So we had a rough patch last year, but we're building the program over there, and it's been a lot of fun. And then last year was the first year I started coaching girls travel, 6A for Edina. And just working with those girls, and it's just fun to just give back and teach from a different perspective. And now I'm coaching Twin City TC Takeover, which is a 9th grade boys program. This is the first year of their boys program. They've had a girls program for 4 years, so I'm ushering in their boys program. So I like to take over programs that are undrafted, you know,
Right.
underdogs. That's me. That's what I like to do. I mean, it's easy to go grab the top talent and then sit on the sideline and act like I'm Calipari. I mean, that's easy. Like, I like to go where people don't get an opportunity to really get good coaching and give them confidence and just make them better people.
I was once a teenage girl, so I can ask this question. But I mean, you've played with grown men, you know, for most of your career. What's it like going and hanging out with teenage girls and try to teach them the game that you love?
Well, it's easier to teach girls than boys because girls don't think they know it all. You know, they're not dunking, they're not crossing people over as much. So I can teach them and they kind of like absorb it and really want to learn. But every day you go in there, it's something new.
Keeps it fun, right?
Somebody's arguing over something, you know, so I'm like, you had the problem yesterday, now you had the problem today, now you had the problem. So, but the good thing about it is I have 2 girls. So I'm getting
prepared.
Exactly, I'm
there
getting a
you
head
go.
start.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And on top of all of the coaching, I met you because you were making a film called Three to Flee.
Yep.
And while you played in the NBA, you were a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
You had albums. Number one, how did you get into the art world? And tell me how you got into music. And do you still make music? And then also an update on your film career.
Well, the art world, I think basketball, music, movies, it's all entertainment. Even when you're out there playing, especially when you play at the highest level of the NBA, we understand that it's about entertainment and we're putting on the show for the fans. So I guess that's kind of all put in one box, you know, but music has always been a passion of mine. I grew up listening to blues, R&B, gospel music. I used to ride the bus going to basketball games in high school with CC and BB Wine and gospel music playing. Everybody else was playing Rakim and Eric B and NWA and they're like, what you listen to? I'm like, CC and BB. They're like, what's that? You know, so growing up, I always just liked different genres of music. So I just started in college, writing to instrumentals. That's when you can go to the record store and buy the tapes with the instrumental on one side and then the music on the other side. So I used to buy those and then start writing to industry beats. And I just, found a passion for it. And then, of course, recorded an album. I still record to this day. I do gospel hip hop now, taking it to a different level. 43 years old, can't be doing too much different now. So, it's just always been a passion. And then with the film, I've always been a writer. I've always been a person who imagines things. It's always, before I started writing scripts, I used to have a script in my head. And I would tell a person a whole movie in my head, action figures, everything, like I had it down pat. And I said, one day I was like, let me just put this to paper. And Three to Flee was the movie that you're in. Mm-hmm. It was the first movie I had ever written. And I got to writing, and not to feel myself, but I was like, this is pretty good, Yeah. I was like, I want to go ahead and put this out. And like always, I'm gonna always go back to underdogs and undrafted. I wanted to use all talent from the Midwest and from Minneapolis.
I thought it was because you thought I was the best actor in the world.
Of course, that too.
Okay.
But and that's what I'm doing now. I'm still writing, and I'm trying to. I want to bring there's already a film culture here, but I want to bring something like Hollywood here, something like Atlanta here, to where there's films going on and people know about it, and people can come in and audition, and people can see Minnesota. Like, I get tired of going places and seeing some guys I played with, and they're like, what you still doing in Minnesota? Like, what's there? I'm like, dude, if you just come, you will see that Minnesota is a dope spot, and just showcase the talent here. I'm tired of our young talent. You get a lot of kids that think they have to leave Minnesota in order to get into film, to get into fashion, to get into music. And I'm like, no, like, we should be making that happen here. So that's one of my goals, is to make something happen in the Midwest.
Cool.
What's the next movie project or film project?
I have a film that I already written it. I've written a few.
In your head or on paper?
On paper.
All right.
It's called Heritage State. And it's a sports film. It's another basketball film, just like Three to Flee. I like to write films that are kind of hot topics, but at the same time, put those hot topics into a visual. and then people can see what you're having a topic about. And the Heritage State is about a young guy who is a basketball player. He's the #1 player in the country, and he lives in Georgia. He has an opportunity to go to the top school in the country. But then you have this historical black college that's in his same hometown that his grandfather went to that he didn't know his grandfather went to. He didn't know who his grandfather was, so he finds out who his grandfather is, and he gets all this history. And at the end of the film, he goes to the historical black college. He draws 4 other All-Americans that go there, and they win the first national championship for historical black college.
That's very cool.
So you also recently became the chaplain for the Timberwolves?
Yes.
Tell us what that entails and how that came about.
Well, the chaplains are, ministers there for the players. We're someone they can come to if they're going through an issue. And so the guy who's the chaplain there now, who was the chaplain when I was there, Columbus Smith, he texted me one day. He said, "Do you think you got to call him to be the Timberwolves chaplain?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." So he said, "Well, you can just start coming during the course of the season whenever you can make it," because he knew that I was coaching. So I started coming. Then we just sit. We pray with the players before every game. We give them a word of encouragement, and it's just been a blast. Like, I actually went to All-Star Weekend with the chaplains. I think it was 50 of us from the whole NBA, and they gave us tickets to all the events. I took my son with me. We went to Athletes in Action breakfast. I mean, it was a great group of guys, and that's another passion of mine, is to bring that to light even more about what those guys do, the time that they dedicate, and everything. Is like they don't charge, and they put a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of focus into helping the young men in this game.
Cool.
What do you think about the team as it's this year, next year? We had a coaching change. Flip's son Ryan is now the head coach. What are your thoughts? I
think we're headed in the right direction. I was so happy for Ryan, because I remember him as a kid coming around the gym. But when you see him on the sideline, he's his dad. The mannerisms, everything is almost identical. And my whole thing was, I'm like, I hope they keep him. I hope they keep him around long enough for the players to continue to gel with him and him to kind of put his system in place. And I think they will do that. And we got a good nucleus of players. We have Cat, we got Robert, we have Wiggs, and I just think it takes them being together a good period of time, and the coaching and everybody being together. Like, over the last, I think, 4 years, Wiggs has had 4 different coaches. Cat has had 3 different coaches. That's tough to, build anything when everybody's so many moving parts. So I think we're in the right direction. You go around the arena now, you see some of the old faces that were in Flip's system, from the scouting to some of the assistant coaches, and it's starting to feel more like a family again. A few years ago, I went back, and it's just everybody was new. And you have to get people that want to be in Minnesota. Yeah. Like, you have to want to be here. It can't be a pitch stop. Like, we can't keep hiring pitch stop people, because they're not going to give their heart, their soul, and their spirit to it. And that means something. If you really want to be here, that starts showing and start rubbing off on people, and then success will happen.
Speaking of, we mentioned me missing out on not getting drafted, but probably should have, and just my skills. Alexa's got some skills too, and we kind of wanted to see how your skills are holding up.
All right.
So we're thinking maybe a little 2-on-1. We'll see how you're holding up.
We can go 2-on-1. We can go 2-on-2. I got a secret weapon.
Okay.
Oh.
So yeah.
Let's check it out.
I think we can handle it.
Let's do it. Well, we did notice that you will have the shoe size advantage. Tell us what this is. We saw this on the wall. This is Alexa's shoe.
Yeah.
And this is...
That's a game shoe that was graffitied on by some... they had a program going, and the Timberwolves had some kids graffiti on all of our shoes. But I think they're about the same size.
All right.
Yeah,
and this is the shoe that I'm going to play in, because I forgot my shoes. Yeah. This is Kevin Garnett's shoe, it looks like. And I think we're the same size.
Yeah, I think that's like 17, 18?
What do we got here? 15.
Oh, a 15.
15.
Okay, not quite
Yeah.
cat size, but
Mine's a 3.
We gotta put yours up here too.
A men's 3.
This is a 3.
So
All right,
I think I can hang.
let's do it.
Sweet.
All right, so Troy, this is the secret weapon, right?
my secret weapon. Tell them who you are.
Troy Jr.
Are you ready to play?
You don't get a chance, man.
Are you gonna pass the ball?
I'm gonna be passing your ball over the block after you shoot.
What you got to say about that?
All right, let's do this. I got a little Troy.
Which one?
Well, the younger one.
Yeah. Big Troy's not as good.
Yeah, just not as good as you used to.
Yeah.
But still, great work.
I'm gonna go to an ice tub.
All
Ice
right.
bath.
Troy, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
That
it.
was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Awesome
you.
to meet
Little
you.
Troy,
Likewise.
great job. Sorry about
Good game.
the dunk there.
Tough guy.
You're gonna dominate.
I dunk on them all the time.
Awesome. All right.
There we go. 2 generations.
Yep.
I got no choice but to go hard. The CW crew on the CW Twin Cities. DJ Bonix, Alexa Score, and John Foss. Like, follow, subscribe to, and love the CW crew.